This episode is sponsored by Bonwei.com. Bonwei gets you the best hotel rates and up to 30% back in rewards. To learn more, visit Bonwei.com. Again, that's BONWI.com and start saving money on hotels and get up to 30% back in rewards. Harry's. Stop messing around and get started shaving with Harry's today by claiming your free trial offer. $13 value for free, just cover the shipping by going to harrys.com/whatthetech. And by Hover. Find a domain name for your idea. Go to hover.com/WTT and get 10% off your first purchase. Again, that's hover.com/WTT. Hover, domain names for your ideas.
What the heck?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Aaron, and I'm joined by the one, the only, my favorite guest to have on the show.
Aww.
My friend and yours, Mary Jo Foley.
I'm your favorite guest?
You are my favorite guest. You know why? You always show up, you're always ready, you're always prepared. Unlike Paul and his gallivanting throughout Europe and his multiple homes.
Come on, he's busy eating ham right now.
He is, right? He literally is having ham right now.
Yeah.
Mary Jo Foley, everybody. Where can people find you? I know where to find you. At Rattle and Hum.
Yes.
That's where I
Many times you will find me at Rattle and Hum. Other times you will find me at ZDNet on allaboutmicrosoft.com or on Twitter at Mary Jo Foley.
Also, you do a phenomenal show with Paul on the Twit network for Windows Weekly. How long have you been on Windows Weekly? For a while now.
I know. I think it's like almost 6 years or 7 even.
I remember the infamous Upside Down Foley episode.
That was the first time I was ever on.
And you were upside. A great way to make a splash in podcasting.
Oh, I know. It was because there was a wrong driver installed on my laptop, and so the camera was flipped upside down, and through the whole show, everybody was giving suggestions. Try this.
No,
Nothing
I would have. You know, I remember watching that episode, and my studio was the opposite way, and it was an Asus you were on, right?
Yeah, it was.
So I had the same exact problem on my Asus, and I figured out how to do it, and I had to go into the driver settings and flip the video.
Oh, jeez. I would have had no idea how to do that.
I was actually in the chat saying, tell Mary Jo to go here and do this. It was the most insane thing in the world, but I think you should. Yeah. It was perfect that you were upside down.
It was memorable.
Yeah, you know what? I should make you upside down. Where's Suncast? Suncast, if you're watching, make Mary Jo upside down.
Oh no, I'm gonna get nauseous if you make me up.
We have so much to talk about. Actually, we spoke a lot on Tuesday when I saw you. We got together. Actually, was it Tuesday? Was it Tuesday or Monday? I think it was Tuesday.
It was Tuesday. Yep.
Yeah. Your boss was in town, and I saw you, and I saw Zach from ZDNet, and we had a great conversation. It was awesome. And I started telling you about how I've gone over to a PC, and this is my favorite laptop now.
You're an HP fanboy, I'm an HP fangirl.
You know what? I really, really am, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And of course, the latest Consumer Reports story about the Surface devices. Obviously, that's a huge story. But before we do, let's take a moment to talk about our sponsor, and that's Hover.com. Guys, I've been buying domain names from Hover for I think from 2012. And I've transferred all my domain names to Hover, every single one of them. And I did the math, and I've always said it's like around 230, 240 domain names. It's actually almost at 300 domain names now. So I have been buying all these. I'm hoarding these domain names. A lot of them, not necessary to hoard, to be honest, but for redundancy reasons, for GFQ, I buy, the .nets and the .coms and the .cos, and my domain names were everywhere. So when I went over to Hover, where actually they started advertising, I started buying domain names from them, and I moved everything over. And the reason why I did this is not because they sponsor us, obviously, and it's because of their unbelievable support, number one, and the lack of upsell that they do. Unlike some of those other guys, when you go to check out a domain name, you know what happens? You look at the domain name, and it's like, I'm throwing a number. Let's say it's X amount, right, for the domain name. And you check out, by the end of that checkout, you're at $50 because they've hit you with the private registration and this registration and that registration and this fee and that fee and email support. And at the end, You have no idea what you just bought for, $60 or $50. That upsell does not exist with Hover. Go to hover.com/WTT. You get 10% off your first purchase. Easy, breezy, you're done. This is why I love them. Hover.com/WTT. Buy your domain names there. Get 10% off your first purchase. I want to thank Hover for supporting What the Tech. So, Mary Jo, not good news for Microsoft with this story.
No.
Consumer Reports is saying that they are at nearly the bottom. Are they at the bottom, or is it nearly the bottom?
They're the bottom of the handful of vendors in the chart.
For reliability.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. So this is a story about Consumer Reports saying that Microsoft, they're pulling their, quote, reliable rating for a Surface laptop. But the reason the way they're doing it is they're taking feedback from the people they survey. But obviously, since there aren't that many Surface laptops out there yet because the product is so new, they're combining the feedback on all Surface versions, I believe. So I think Surface, at least Surface Book and Surface Laptop, maybe Pro, I'm not sure.
Okay.
And they're polling their audience, I forget how many people, 9,000 plus. And they're asking them, what's your reliability rating? So Microsoft's coming in at the very bottom with estimated breakage rate by the second year of ownership at 25%, which is really high.
Yeah, under Toshiba, the list, I believe the bottom three were Dell, Toshiba, and Microsoft.
It was.
So here's where I think this is a little skewed.
Yeah.
How many of their readers of the let's say the 9,000, right? You said there was like about 9,000 people in the survey.
Yeah.
Of
yeah,
that,
I think so.
I'm sorry, 90,000. 90,000.
Is it 90,000?
90,000. Yeah.
Sorry.
It was 90,000, which about 25% of those with Microsoft Surface devices will experience problems at the end of the day. So out of the 90,000 of them, how many of them actually were Surface owners?
Right.
What
I don't know if we know that number.
I'm almost about to say that it is probably a very small number of people. And if you went out and bought a Surface Book, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
That is a very small group of people that have purchased this.
Right. And they're comparing this against Apple, right? Acer, HP, like all the really big vendors.
Well, I can tell you something about reliability in Apple.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't know what you would say at this point.
At this point, you know what?
Probably not good, right?
Well, actually, at this point, I don't know. This is how they get you, right? Reliability-wise, they sucked with that 2016 laptop. But and this has been the joke on the show with Paul, where he says, when Consumer Reports calls you and says, well, how would you grade Apple's support? I would say probably it's great because they gave me a brand new laptop every time I had a problem.
I know. Right. So we don't really know how the algorithm is calculated for this. I was looking to see if anybody knows, but I think that's kind of proprietary information on Consumer Reports' part. It said, let's see, subscribers experiences 41,304 laptops purchased between 2014 and the first quarter of 2017. Okay, so that doesn't even include Surface Laptop then. Like,
it doesn't include Surface
Laptop.
Laptop.
Feedback from that.
No. And it probably, what are we going back to? Surface 3? Surface Pro 3?
Surface Pro 4 and 3 and Surface Book with Performance Base and Surface Book, right? So
what kind of reliability problems does the Surface Pro 3 and 4 have? The docking
they had a lot.
The sleep issue, yeah.
Yeah, the hot bag thing, the power thing, the Surface Book. Some people still have the problem where they can't detach the tablet part from it easily. So there have been problems. I'm not saying there haven't been problems, but the way they extrapolated this was, okay, let's ask people about their experience with the Surface family. And oh wait, we said Surface Laptop was awesome. Now we're going to pull that reliability rating because we don't even actually have anyone in our sample who has one. But we're just going on the fact that people are not very happy with their Surfaces.
Very interesting. So the list is the following for people following along with this. If you haven't seen it, Mary Jo obviously wrote it on ZDNet. Paul also wrote it. It's on therot.com, so you could go and check it out there. But the most reliable laptop is Apple, followed by Samsung, which I found that very interesting.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't know how many laptops are they making,
Yeah. Yeah.
Acer, HP, Asus, Lenovo, Dell, Toshiba, and Microsoft. See, this is where it gets tricky because we don't know what devices they tested
I know.
for Samsung and HP. I mean, if you're doing an overall
Yeah.
statistic of all the laptops that your user base is using for HP, I'm willing to bet. This is the big problem that I've always said exists in the PC market, right?
Yeah.
With Windows in general, because there's so many different variables as to what makes the product bad. Right? Like
I know.
do we know what questions were asked regarding reliability? Are we talking about people that just let, Windows creator update happen and they got very upset by it, so now, they're not happy with software? I'm curious to get more detail regarding this.
Me too. I don't think we know exactly what they ask or how they ask the questions.
Well, and here's the other part. 90,000 laptop and tablet owners.
Right. Yeah.
Is that incorporated in Apple? Because I'm willing to, you know what? I would be 100% with this number of 10%, less than 10% of people. Obviously this is breakage rate by second year of ownership. That's why people are happy with Apple, because everybody has an iPad and nobody's using it and just sitting there. So it's not breaking.
Yeah.
You're not breaking this thing. Very interesting. Someone in chat says the figures can really only affect older devices because no one could. I'm sorry, I'm having a problem reading this. Because no one could have had the newer devices for long enough. Yeah, exactly.
I agree. Right. And so, what's biting Microsoft here are all the things that happened at the beginning with the Surface, right? And it's probably biting the other vendors too. Like if these numbers do go back to 2014, the OEMs weren't making as good PCs and other kinds of devices then as they are now, I would argue.
Oh, absolutely. 2014 we said?
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Spectre didn't exist for HP at that point?
Yeah. Right.
Which kind of revitalized HP as a major player in the PC world. 2014, if we look at what the market was like, or Lenovo, I'm shocked Lenovo's on the bottom of this list.
Yeah.
Toshiba, I'm not surprised. Dell, I'm not so surprised.
Although the new Dells are getting great reviews. I mean...
Yeah, you know what the problem with those new Dells are, though? If you want to look like you put on 60 pounds while you're doing a web conference, these are the best laptops to use. The webcam
Don't use the built-in webcam.
What a ridiculous...
and also because of where it is, right?
Yeah, that's like the number one law of photography. You don't shoot a face from the bottom.
No.
I'm very surprised at this. So has Microsoft come up with a response to this at all?
They have. They said they are disputing the findings, and I think it's hard to dispute them. I mean, maybe they have more details on exactly what the findings were and how they were made, but based on the little I know about this, based on things I've read so far, I don't really know how you would even dispute it.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's do a little survey here, okay? I have a Surface device here in my office. I have a Surface Pro 3.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Surface Pro 4 in my office. You have had multiple Surface devices. Paul has had multiple Surface. Brad has had Surface devices. I think every single one of us have had an issue with this, right?
Yeah.
Have had some sort of issue, a hardware issue. I'm not trying to debunk this story. I think the issue with this is the fact that there were so little newer Surface devices on the market that people are actually buying that took this survey. So they're probably lower on the list than they should be, but they do have reliability issues. I don't know about the Surface laptop because I haven't used one, longevity wise, but I can tell you that the Surface Pro devices that I have used have had some issues.
Well, the newest Surface Pro, the one that just came out in May, that had the hibernation issue, right? And where it was automatically going to sleep on some people.
But
and
they had this issue in the past, too.
I know. They have a lot of problems with power issues in Surface devices. Microsoft said in their, I'm looking at their statement now, Surface is designed and built with performance and reliability in mind. We extensively test the hardware and software. I don't know what extensively means here because like every PC maker and tablet maker, they want to keep things in secret, right? And they don't want you to find out about a new device before it comes out. So a lot of these new devices, I feel like you've tested them, within the confines that you can, and with your own employees and with a few trusted outsiders. But I always wonder, like, how much was the Surface laptop tested before we all got to take it, right?
Oh, that's a great question. How long was that thing tested? Well, we know that the Surface Book was not really tested that long, right?
Right.
Because,
right. And the Studio, I mean, you can say this about all the devices, right? And I remember when the very, very first Surface RT came out in 2012, I got one of the very first ones off the production line.
I did too.
And it was so problematic with battery life, right? And so Microsoft actually replaced mine, and they said, some of the first ones, you got a really early one.
You had like the preview one, right? Like for
kind of, right?
Yeah. So I got
Except
one of those
bought
too.
it. No, I bought it.
Oh, you bought it?
I bought this.
I did not.
Yeah.
I was given mine.
Yeah. No, I bought mine because, well, back in the bad old days, I couldn't get a review unit.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you were on the list. You were on the naughty list.
I was. So I went and bought it on the very first day with my own money at the store. I got it home. And at first I was like, yeah, it works. And then a couple days later, I'm like, so everyone else is saying how good the battery life is. Mine is horrible.
I had the issue where one day I turned it on and I was in an endless loop.
Yeah.
And I couldn't restore it because it was looping so fast. I couldn't get to the prompt wouldn't work to do it.
I had that on the Surface Pro 4 loaner that I had.
They just handed me a new one. They're like, okay, don't worry about it. And here you go.
Same.
So, obviously, listen, do these Surface devices have reliability issues? Absolutely. Absolutely. From just me talking to people about the problems. Is Microsoft proactive at trying to fix these issues? Absolutely. They are very, they try to fix it as fast as they can. But this spread between Apple and Microsoft when it comes to reliability, hardware-wise, that's a bizarre... I don't know.
Yeah.
I would love to get more information. I'm going to do some digging about this story because I think a lot of people are very concerned with where the things fall. Is there a skew here as to why Apple is, 10%?
So high. Right.
Yeah, 10%. I mean, and Samsung is on that. I mean,
I know. The Samsung one is, for me, the one that I'm kind of like, huh?
Well, if they made 5 laptops and 5 people only bought them and they're fine, then of course they're going to have a great success rate. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure this issue of Consumer Reports is out yet that talks about this. I think it sounds like Consumer Reports gave Reuters an early copy of the findings. So maybe it's not even out yet. I'm not sure. But once it comes out, everybody will be able to dig more into this and look at how they came up with the numbers, and then watch what they do as a follow-up, because they always do the follow-up articles when they have these kinds of things. So I'd say stay tuned.
I'm going to throw it in the chat room. And I would let's do a little survey of our own while we take a little break.
Yeah.
I want to know, and if you're in the chat room, change your nickname to whatever you want it to be, and answer so we can follow along. What device do you use currently that you purchased within the last 3 years, right? Laptop, and have you had reliability issues? Because if you asked me about Apple 2 years ago, I would have probably told you that they should be number one on this list.
Mm-hmm.
And this speaks volumes, right, as to how Apple products are selling. How are these new MacBook Pros selling? And I'm willing, I know we don't have the numbers and we probably won't, but I'm willing to bet it's a very small, I mean, they're not selling a lot of these devices. I have not seen one new MacBook Pro in the wild, other than the ones that I've bought for my company.
Yeah.
Actually, that is the shocking thing. The only people that I have seen in the last year, right? The 2016 model came out a year ago.
Yeah.
2017 came out a couple of months ago. In 1 year, I have seen zero Touch Bar MacBook Pros available publicly.
Wow.
I mean, in everyday usage. I go to Starbucks. I go to this bar. I go to that bar. Not one. So when you talk about, so obviously reliability is great because nobody's bought this freaking thing.
The other thing that I would love, I don't even know if they break this out. What the other question is, hardware reliability or software reliability, or is it like something in between, like firmware, right?
And how will the 90,000 people taking the survey distinguish the difference between
like, say, the hot bag
software?
issue? Okay, was that a hardware problem? Was that a software problem or firmware problem? This is the problem in the PC
market. I've always said this is a major battle that Microsoft faces because regardless if they're making hardware or not, at the end of the day, when someone uses Windows 10 and it does a creators update and something breaks and it's a forced update and no, you didn't really want this, you didn't opt in, and then something's not working, you know what you say? Oh, Microsoft sucks, Windows sucks.
Yeah.
And that's what people hear. This is interesting. I want to go to the chat room, but before we do, I want to take a moment and talk about our sponsor, and that is Bonwei. Mary Jo, you travel all the time.
I do.
My wife travels so much. Last year, I'll give you an example of how much I traveled. I went to Los Angeles 7 times last year. I went to LA 7 times. I went to Florida. I stay in Manhattan, and it's so weird. I said this last week on the show, and I got a message from someone that says, "You live in New York City. Why do you spend the money and stay in Manhattan?" And I said, because I live in Queens. I live in the suburbs. I don't stay in Manhattan. I love it. So Jess and I do, like, once a month, we'll stay in Manhattan one night. We don't want to come back home. We run away from our lives and our children, and we stay in Manhattan. We go to dinner. We stay at a nice hotel. This is awesome. Bonwei, BONWI.com, gets you the best hotel rates and gets you up to 30% back in rewards. Way more than anybody else doing. Most travel sites give you 2% or 10% at best. They give you 30% back in rewards. What they do, they price match. They scan all the major travel sites and bring you the lowest cost available. So I'm going to be staying in a hotel in Soho in 2 weeks. That was my anniversary gift to Jess. Yesterday was our 9-year anniversary, wedding anniversary. So I actually went on Bonwei and I did the rate. And the original rate I had for the hotel I wanted was almost $500. The rate on Bonwei, it was like $389. So firsthand, it's unbelievable. It's great. So they also give you rewards. So here's an example. Imagine booking 4 to 5 nights at a hotel, and that would get you and getting enough points for a free airline ticket or an additional night or a $100 Amazon gift card. They're really, really good. And here's the deal. If you sign up right now, you get 1,500 reward points for just signing up. Obviously, no commitment. You just sign up. That's BONWI.com. That's BONWI.com. This is actually a really good site. I really like them, and I hope they continue with us because I'm using them right now. So Bonwei, everybody. It's always good when you use the product, right?
It is.
It's so easy to talk about. So let's look at the chat room here. Let me scroll up here. Sorry, boys and girls. Tech Junk says, great name. Never had a problem with the Surface Pro 1, but have had problems with the Surface Pro 4. Interesting, right? So the older hardware is better than the newer one. Surface Pro 4 had hot bag until they fixed it. I have an HP laptop I bought 7 years ago, but I rarely used it. It's never left my house. It's on my desk 99.9999% of the time. Swamp Rat, and I don't know if he has problems or not. My Surface Pro 3 hung on me a few times. So listen, this is just the nature of it. I think we're a little bit more aware of how, like, we're a little micro bubble, right? Like, we have 100 people watching this in the chat room right now. You and I, like, we are kind of in the know, right? Like, I'm an enthusiast. I think most of the people watching this are enthusiasts. They're not everyday people just using their laptop, shoving it in their bag, and never caring when they go home. That's a very different person. I'm curious, as those people will have a very different experience than we will.
It's true. And I would assume Consumer Reports is serving normals, right?
I'm sure there's a couple of us wackos in there, right?
Yeah, a couple, but not the majority, probably.
Yeah, so it was, what was it? Winter Product Reliability Survey, Consumer Reports National Research Center. So I'm very curious to get more information about the survey because bizarre. I think there's something off here. I'm not shocked that Apple's number one. I'm really not. I am, however, shocked that Samsung is number 2.
Same.
And HP's like, HP makes sense because they've really stepped it up over the last year or two.
Yeah.
Talk about HP. Go ahead.
You know what makes this? There's one more complicating factor in this that is very obvious on Twitter too. If you go out there and you spend your own money, like $1,000, $2,000 on a laptop, the last thing you want to tell people is it's horrible because it makes you look like an idiot, right? Like, even if you did your homework and do you want to go around telling people, I bought that thing and it's terrible, so I don't know what I'm doing.
Don't be a jerk like me. Don't buy a 2016 MacBook Pro, everybody. Do not buy that device.
I think that plays in. Like, I think people don't want to, like, you're very attached to your phones, your PCs. Like it's something that people have a very visceral attachment to, and they don't want to be like, yeah, I'm an idiot.
You know, we spoke about this on Tuesday, how I don't have any brand loyalty with anything,
Yeah.
right? Like if it works for me, it works for me. And I don't care how long I've been using it.
Same.
I have a friend that he
Yeah.
only buys Ford. He'll only buy Ford cars.
Yeah.
And he complains all the time, but he goes back and buys a Ford. And I said, why do you buy Ford? He goes, because that's what I buy. I said, well, you know, here's the great thing about this world. There are how many car manufacturers out there that make every single thing you could imagine?
I know.
So why not at one point go to something else? I think people don't like to admit that what they own, there's something wrong with it.
Yeah,
I have
they
this
don't.
discussion constantly with people. You know, the blindly, you know, the fanboyism is a great example
I
of
know.
that.
I know.
You know, blindly following, no matter how bad something is, you never
Yeah.
admit wrong, and you say this is how it is, and you just move on.
Yeah, but you know what? I tell everybody, and I've told you, and you've told me about your love for HP right now, and mine also, because I use the Spectre from a year ago. And I'll tell you, it makes me more interested to look at HP in the future, but it doesn't mean my next laptop's going to be an HP.
Absolutely, yeah. Same with me, right? So,
Yep.
I'm an HP. I got the EliteBook here.
Yeah.
You know, I've been using it for 3 weeks now. It's my everyday computer. And shockingly, the only time I don't use it is when I'm doing a show, because I have all the stuff to control the cameras and stuff on this machine. So it's easier. I mean, I could do it on here, but I just haven't moved on over. I don't, you know, it takes a while to get the hang of things sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't want this show to be an experiment. But
Yeah.
I have to tell you, there are many, many things that I love about this thing. But there are things that I don't like about it also. But I have to consider, what is the use case for this? Who's using this device? I would have loved a higher resolution screen. But you have that on the Spectre. The Spectre has a higher res screen. This
It
one
does.
This one's 1080.
Yeah.
So
You know, to me, like I always tell you guys, like I have such simple computing needs. Like it's nice having a high resolution screen, but I don't have a touch screen. I don't have Hello on that machine. I don't care.
yeah.
It's like it's okay. It works.
So I got an email from somebody. So I was talking about this device, and they brought up. They said, "Hey, listen, I priced one out, and it's really expensive." And I said, "Well, here's how I see this. I'm comparing this at the top of the market, right? Like this is the premium market. So if you are looking for, there are features like the privacy screen, which I use all the time on the train."
Yeah.
So yours doesn't have it, right? The privacy
doesn't.
button. So do you know about it's awesome. That thing works really well.
Yeah.
Like the privacy screen and things like that. I go, and it's durable. It could take a beating. If that's what you want, this is the device for you. If you are looking to not spend as much and get something that that doesn't have it, obviously you could get the lower end version of this. So the pricing varies. Like the one that I have priced out, it's pricey. It's like $2,300.
Yeah.
Same as a MacBook, but that's the market. That's what I'm reviewing. I like this device. I personally like it. The keyboard is the major selling point for me on this. It's remarkable. But there are other devices that probably come close in the market that is for you.
Yeah.
I like HP because of what they've been making recently. Maybe in a year from now, I'll hate them. I was a big ThinkPad guy, and I have to tell you, I absolutely love the ThinkPad lineup, but the last couple ThinkPads that I've used, not that crazy about it. I think that they've cheapened a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Lenovo's so low on the reliability.
Yeah.
So, with that said, Mary Jo, I asked Brad this, and this has been my summer question for all the guests. What do you use every single day? What is your everyday device? Like, what is your laptop, your tablet, your phone that you were using every single day?
So on my desktop, what I'm using right now for this show is an older, I forget how old this is, 7 years old, Dell Optiplex desktop running Windows 7 Pro. And it's a 24-inch screen. It's a really good device. The reason I never moved it to 10 is it's old, and I figure when I finally replace this device, I'll just get a Windows 10 desktop PC.
That's interesting. You didn't move over on that device.
No. And you know what? Windows 7 to me, it's reliable. I know it. And I didn't know how this would be with Windows 10 on it. It's not a touch screen. So I was just like, I don't really need Windows 10 on here, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
My laptop is the HP Spectre that they loaned me, and I still kept. I haven't given it back yet. It's the model that came out last year.
Well, just give it back when the new one comes out next year.
I think it's just called HP Spectre. It's not the 360 or any.
So it doesn't flip.
Doesn't flip. It's just a laptop. It's a really good Ultrabook / laptop. And I bring it with me everywhere. I've never had a problem with it. It is thin, light. Everyone loves it. Even in the airport, people in TSA have asked to pick it up because it looks so light. They're like, is that really a laptop?
Yeah.
And so it's great. It's very portable. It does everything I want. And it's been awesome. For my phone, I'm still using the Google Nexus 6P.
Wow,
I'm an Android girl these days on my phone, and I'm okay with that.
So,
I still am running a lot of Microsoft apps.
So this is where my question to you begins. Why are you using Android instead of iOS, instead of an iPhone?
I don't like Apple.
You don't, in general.
I don't like Apple. I don't like Apple fans. Sorry, people.
You hate me.
You know, I feel like I don't want to be part of the club. I feel like the majority of the world is running Android. And so if I'm not going to be running Windows Phone, I want to run the platform that the majority uses. And I've come to really like Android.
So this is where I would have agreed with you for so long. And now I've become an iOS. I'm an iPhone user now. And it's because of reliability. I feel that this, and listen, by the way, I'm not saying that the iPhone does not have problems. Because I discovered one where my screen locks up. The middle part of my screen will lock up every now and then, and I have to do like a restart to get it to work again. It's a weird problem that I'm having, and I've had it on two iPhone 7 Pluses after using it for a while. But
I think the Google cameras are better now.
So Samsung, the Samsung S8.
Yeah.
Very good device. I mean, it's beautiful. I'm probably going to get that next month when my contract's over on this because I like to be in both environments. But I just have way more reliability problems on Android compared to iOS. Now, I haven't had
problems.
Nothing. Yeah. You're lucky.
Now, as soon as I say that, you know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Someone's going to email you and say, are you nuts?
I know.
Or you're going to have a lot of problems.
I know. But the other thing I really ended up loving on the Google phone is the Project Fi for when you travel outside the U.S. Paul got me hooked on that, which is you can use their voice and data plan so cheaply and pay per gig. And it's been fantastic. Yeah. I used it in Japan. I used it in Amsterdam. It's great.
It just works well.
It just works.
So when you were in Japan, what did you do? You just... In Project Fi, you just tell it where you are, or it just automatically?
It just automatically picks up that you're there, and it starts transferring you to the closest Wi-Fi or carrier network, and you just pay for the data and the voice that you use. That's it.
That's amazing.
It's awesome.
That's really good. No, because I've, the problem that I have is I'm in two environments, and when you're using, I'm in multiple. I'm using Windows. I'm using Mac. I'm using Mac OS. I'm using iOS. I'm using everything at this point, and I have this like crisis now because I'm trying to replicate everything that I do on all platforms, and it's very difficult to do that. You know that's a major problem.
You know, I guess because I use 3 platforms: Windows 7, 10, and Android. I don't ever think about carrying things over. I feel like I work differently in each place and I use different things. I mean, I use Notepad in both versions of Windows, but I don't use Notepad on my phone. So I guess there are certain things that do carry over, like OneDrive across all of them, Cortana only across 10 and Android. But I'm okay with that. I feel like I just work in a different way and I need and want different things on each of the 3.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious about how everybody else uses it. I don't think are people in mixed environments as much as I think they are. I mean, I guess you would be if you use Windows and you have an iPhone, or you're at least in two ecosystems.
These days, if you use a Windows laptop, you are definitely in a multi-ecosystem place. I mean, there's almost nobody left using Windows Phone, so you're either iOS and Windows Desktop or Android and Windows Desktop.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I want to talk about the fall update. and
Okay.
I want to get your opinion on this. I'm actually very surprised that you're using Windows 7 on that desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm going to say something so like sacrilegious. Windows 7 and 10 are not that different.
no, they're not that different at all.
They're not.
No, I think Windows 8 is
mean,
way different than Windows 7. I mean,
oh yeah,
that was a big,
yeah, right.
big leap.
But like, think about a desktop and what I do for work? Do I need like the start panel? Do I need any of the special features that Windows 10 has? No, I don't.
No, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
Windows 7 works.
yeah,
If it works for you, it works for everybody.
I know.
I do want to talk about Fall Creator Update, but before we do, let's take a moment to talk about our sponsor, Harry's. Guys, I've been using a Harry's razor for a long time now. Paul and I always joke about how I could be using a razor if I have this beard going. Well, the reality is you still have to shave. You still got to clean up. And I was really apprehensive at using one of these, multi-blade razor sets, the 5-blade razor sets, because I was very used to the razors that I've used. Disposable, they're very thin, and I was able to get the job done. But I realized that after 1 or 2 shaves, the quality on these things have plummeted to the point that they are just unusable. So I started using my Harry's razor and fell in love with this thing. And because I don't shave every day, these razors last forever. Here's a great offer for you guys: a free trial set. Just pay the shipping, cover the shipping. That includes the razor handle, the 5-blade cartridge, and the shaving gel. If you go to harrys.com/whatthetech, that's harrys.com/whatthetech, you get the free trial set. You just have to cover the shipping, and this is a great gift for any guy in your family. This is a phenomenal. I have 2 boxes right over there that I'm looking at that I have to give to people that I have not yet, and I get yelled at all the time because I'm supposed to give this to them. They're great razors made by a great company, and they have a great offer for you guys. You could get the free trial set by going to harrys.com/whatthetech. You get it for free. Just cover the shipping. I want to thank Harry's for supporting the show. Mary Jo, let's talk about the creator update, the fall creator update. Yep. What is the latest with this? When is it coming out? I spoke to Brad a little bit last week about some of the key features. What stands out to you with the fall creator update?
So we think it's going to come out. Well, it is going to come out this fall. The target date for it is September, which means probably start rolling out in October unless they are running a little bit late. And there are some indications it could be a little later than that, just because they've been hedging lately when they've been talking about when it will roll out. But it'll definitely be this fall. I'd say, just because I cover the enterprise for ZDNet a lot, there are a lot of new security features for the enterprise in this that are pretty interesting. Even though it's called the Fall Creators Update, it's also got a lot in there if you're running Windows 10 Enterprise around things like there was this thing called Project Barcelona, which is now called Windows Defender Application Guard. And it's a security mechanism for Edge that is going to kind of let you isolate potential malware in the browser. So that's pretty cool. There are some creators features in this, but some of the ones people were most looking forward to, like the timeline and the cloud clipboard, have been pushed back. So they're not going to be in the Fall Creators Update. And even things like this new eye tracking technology that they just put in the latest test build last week, that's going to be in Creators Update, we think. But if it is, it's only going to be in a beta state at that point.
Okay.
So they've got a lot of things in the air, a lot of fit and finish and all this stuff about Fluent design. I got to tell you, I still, when people are like, oh, look at all the stuff they're doing with Fluent, I don't even see it. To me, I'm like, do you mean the blurry, like glass stuff? I don't know what you're talking about really, but they're very proud of their design language and how this is making Windows a more beautiful environment. There's stuff if you're into the mixed reality headsets, there'll be support for that in the Fall Creators Update built into the operating system. So there are some things that are for creators and will make it into the Fall Creators Update. But if I were talking about this as a service pack, I would say it's kind of a minor service pack.
So this is Redstone 3.
It is.
Okay, so what are we going to after this?
Redstone 4, which we don't know what the official name is going to be, will be around March next year.
And that'll be technically the... So this is where it gets confusing for a lot of people, right? Like, what's like? I know it's always going to be Windows 10, but like this update is, just a continuation of the spring update, essentially.
Right. They had the spring creators update, the fall creators update. I think we'll see the same kind of thing next year. Like there'll be a spring something. They may not call
and
it
that'll
creators
be
update.
whatever the next focus is for them, I guess.
Yep. And then there'll be a fall again.
Do we have any idea of where they're headed? Because the creator thing was interesting. That how that was their big push with this update, and considering the fact that for all the creative tools that they've added, they really kind of fell back when it came to movie editing and photo editing and things like that for a long time. And now they trying to focus in on this. But so what would the next focus be?
I don't know. What's interesting is I'm assuming things like timeline and the cloud clipboard and maybe even some of the story remix thing you're talking about will be in the spring update. So, do they call that, creators update part 3 or something? I don't know. They're definitely sticking with that theme of trying to push Windows as a good environment for creators of all kinds. So I don't know if they'll continue it with the name and the emphasis or not. I'm betting around October this year we could do another kind of hardware event from Microsoft like we've been doing over the past couple of years. And if they do that, I would think that might be where they would start talking about what to expect in the spring update, and we could hear more then about what their major focus is going to be.
Yeah, because it's a very different. I kind of miss the fact that we had numbers and names, right? Like I miss that in a way because it was kind of easy to kind of distinguish, what version of Windows this is. You tell them Windows 10. Okay, what version of Windows 10 are you running? Did you get the spring update? Hopefully you're on anniversary, but you got the spring update. Great. The fall update's coming now. I don't know if the branding of this is going to work for them in the long run.
I wish they would just use numbers. I think consumers could follow along with this, right? You could call the fall update 1709. You could call the spring 1803. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think people would get it if they kept doing it. But they're only doing that for businesses, right? Like they're calling the fall update, if you're a business user, 1709. They're not calling it fall creators update.
Yeah.
I wish they would just do that.
Apple names it after it was cats, and now it's mountain regions or whatever, regions in California.
Yeah.
And that works because you're able to say, oh, okay, I'm on this version. When you tell someone Windows 10, well, what version of Windows 10 are you on and what update do you have? It's a little,
I know,
little weird, but this.
And then now with what they're doing with phone, right? So people who are in the Windows 10 mobile insider program who are still there, they're not even running Redstone 3. They're running some other thing called Feature 2 that isn't even Redstone 3. So that's super confusing, right? You're not even on the same version of Windows at that point.
I think they've given up as to those users.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
So here's a good question for you. So obviously we have the flagship Windows-based phones on the market, but there are other manufacturers making Windows-based phones still.
A couple,
right?
Alcatel and HP.
Is HP going to continue with this, or
I don't know.
Yeah. So what happens when they continue making this and Microsoft says, we're not really big on these. We're just going to do support at this point. We're just going to do incremental updates and support. This is pretty much a dead platform for them.
I know it is. But, so the question is what's next for them in mobile, right? And
great question.
We all keep hearing there's this possible new hardware device from Microsoft codenamed Andromeda. And we think this is whatever follows Windows Phone. Like some people call this a Surface phone, but I don't think it's going to be a phone the way we think of phones. I think it's going to be maybe a foldable tablet with some telephony capabilities or somehow working with Skype to be the telephony part of it. So I think that's where they're going with the idea of something that's like a phone. But the other part of the question is, so what does that mean for the mobile platform? Like, does that mean it's running Windows 10 on ARM, or is it running something else? Like, that's the part that's very fuzzy for us at this point. And they have not yet clarified that. And so we're all kind of waiting to see what they say.
So I thought, there's really not too much news that have come out about this, but I thought it was going to be Windows on ARM, just how it's emulating on ARM. And where that goes, because really, if you think about it, that is really the boom for them.
Well, when
on ARM.
Do you remember when they first talked about Windows 10 on ARM? they were very clear about that, and they said it's for PCs and tablets and not phones. Like they said that outright. So that's what has people hedging.
But
They're
when
like,
they announced that initially, Windows 10s did not exist.
it didn't.
So I don't know if they've derived a little bit from that initial stance as to what it was. Windows 10s is at a time where it's really bizarre where this thing is standing and why anybody would want it. But if it was an ARM device, for example, and you ran Windows 10s, I could kind of better understand it.
Yeah. Well, we think they're going to put Windows 10s on ARM.
Well,
we still think that's going to happen. Yeah.
And not on a $2,000 flagship laptop.
Well, they just did put it on that. So
I don't think it's going to be the Surface phone, but I
don't either. No.
I think where we're headed with this is I don't know, maybe it's a hybrid device, You're right.
Maybe. There was another weird clue this week that I found that made me kind of go, because I forget who told me or who was guessing this, but somebody who was one of my readers said, I really think Skype is going to be part of whatever they do in this next mobile platform for businesses. And I was like, yeah, maybe. But then this week I found out that the next version of Skype for Business, which is their backend, server and online platform, they're calling the part of it that's currently called Cloud PBX, they're going to call it Microsoft's Phone System. That's the name of it.
So it's going to be a Cloud PBX. They're just rebranding it, or?
Yeah, it is. But then you go, why are they rebranding it to that?
Microsoft Phone
System. This is pure me speculating here. What if Andromeda somehow backs up to the Skype for Business platform, and that's why it's called Windows Phone System, that it's kind of the phone platform for the device?
Yeah, so I'm imagining this is going to be... Okay, so I'm going to take a guess here, okay? Here's what I'm going to do. Since it's a Cloud PBX system, I'm imagining what they're going to do is incorporate this within Windows or the Office Enterprise Suite.
Yeah, like Office 365,
Office
right?
365, yeah. So this will be incorporated. You pay a monthly fee for access to Cloud PBX, and then you would have all these devices ring, laptops, desktops. They would all ring. Someone's banging
Hopefully
on the door.
not all at once, like Skype.
Yeah, that's pretty much what'll happen. That's pretty much what's.
I don't know.
Happen.
I'm like, okay, why are they calling it that? That's kind of a curious name, right?
I'm very curious as to what this is. I'm imagining it's just going to be a cloud-based PBX system where it just rings on all your Windows devices that have this enabled.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really know, but I'm just guessing there that when I saw that name, I was like, I wonder if that's connected to this thing that we forever have been calling Surface Phone, which I don't think is really a phone the way we're thinking of phones, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe the Surface Phone is this cloud PBX on Surface devices.
I know.
You got a free phone number. I don't know.
I don't know.
They have an identity issue here between consumer and business and
they do.
enterprise, and it's. I think they're throwing everything out there and seeing what works. And we spoke about this last week, and someone said, "Well, before you criticize Skype for Business, you should use it." And I do use it. It's a little bit convoluted to set up, actually, to be honest. If you've never used Skype for Business.
Yeah. Getting Skype for Business and Skype Consumer to talk, they supposedly can.
They can, but it's
I never can get that to work. Like if somebody's like, are you on Skype or Skype for Business? Because we should both be on the same thing to make sure we can talk, Like, oh boy. Yeah, okay.
It is, oh boy. That is always my reaction here.
Yeah.
Very interesting stuff, Mary Jo. I'm glad you came on with me today.
Yeah, me too. I'm sorry I couldn't come by, but maybe another time.
I know. You know what? I was dying for you to come by. It would have been a lot of fun, but it's a total madhouse here with the contractors doing all the work. And I think
not a
it would
good
have been.
day.
Yeah, because you know how many times I've had to mute my mic while you're talking? So it actually worked out much better like this.
Oh, good.
Do you have like 5 minutes, 10 minutes to hang out and talk about beer?
Yep.
Excellent.
Sure.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Guys, go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. Is Paul back next week? Do you know?
He is back.
Okay.
Oh, well, no. Oh, so he's back, but he's going to be in his new house, I think.
He might be back. I don't know.
He might be back.
I've not spoken to Paul in 2 weeks, so...
I know. He's a hard man to get a hold of these days.
Such a big shot. I told you, gallivanting all around Europe,
I know.
buying homes, selling cars. He's up to so much.
Yes.
Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. You can subscribe to the podcast. Guys, subscribe to the podcast. If you are subscribed, subscribe on another platform. We need those subscription numbers up. Also, if you're watching this and you want to help us out, you can fund us by going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/whatthetech. As little as $1 gets you access to our bonus material, which is great, and it also helps us out here on the show. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarin. You can follow Mary Jo Foley on Twitter, right?
Yep.
At Mary Jo Foley. Mary Jo also does another podcast called Windows Weekly. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's a really, really good show. Every Wednesday at 2 p.m. East on the Twin Network. You could go there, check it out. And of course, your blog, your page on ZDNet. All about Microsoft, right?
Right.
Excellent. That's it for this week, guys. Take care.